Welcome back to page 121. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite books from the Megatraveller era, Fighting Ships of the Shattered Imperium. This book was published in 1990 and saw a lot of use on my table. I'm just going to go through the book, what this offered, and why this was so exciting to me when I got it. It was a real good look at big ships. So Fighting Ships of the Shattered Imperium from Megatraveller today on page 121. Fighting Ships of the Shattered Imperium. This book was published in 1990 by Game Designers Workshop as part of the Megatraveller line. That's why it's a Shattered Imperium. It's during the Rebellion. I really enjoyed this book. I love the big ships. I'm going to take a look at the back here. I love the big ships, and I love the breakdown in, or not the breakdown, but the way they delineate the tech in this book. I tried to use this in my regular Traveller game. Unfortunately, the big ships almost always end up being a situation where your player characters are the command crew, or you are in a they're more NPCs than anything else. But inside here, get all kinds of goodness. Here we go. All the design is by Mark Miller, so that's always quality. Additional design by Joe Fugati. This was during the time that Digest Game Products was also doing Megatraveller stuff. So there's a lot of crossover between this company and GDW. Or between DGP and GDW. Say that 10 times fast. So here's all the ships that are in here. We're looking at, there's a little bit on the fighting ships of the Imperium themselves, and then battleships, cruisers, carriers, escorts, and the auxiliaries. I especially was interested in the tanker fleet. I know that it's something I'd encountered in Traveller before, but it's never anything I gave much thought to. The artwork in here is just a lot of fun. I like the artwork a bunch. Who did the artwork in this thing? Let's see. Steve Bryant did the art direction. The cover art was by Kevin Ellis. Interior illustrations by Roger Raup. I like this. So basically, it tells the mission of the Imperial Navy, that the Imperial Navy patrols the seas between worlds. Treating, in this analogy, you treat the planets as islands in the sea of the space, and the Imperial Navy patrols the sea. And that goes into how the navies are broken down. The Squadron Types, that gives the 5 broad Squadron Types. The Tank Ron, which is tankers. The Scout Ron being Squadron. Scouts. Then you have regular squads, colonial squads. They go by squadron numbers. And then the effects of the rebellion, how these squadrons broke up based on their loyalties. And then privateers. There's 3 paragraphs on being a privateer using this book. You actually get a lot done with a big old starship doing privateer work. So here we go, the Imperial Battleships. These are the ships of the line of the Imperial Navy. And BB-11. 11 indicates the tech level. So tech level B. This guy would be crewed, let's see, by 23,778 crewmen. That's a lot of sophons crammed into one shell. And then we go to the BB-2, BB-13, BB-12, BB-13, BB-13 again, and the 14. Each of these takes the best aspects of the lower tech. As the tech improves, they go ahead and they build it up. So the BB-12, or the BB-13 is built on the 12, and so on. And then we have a big old dreadnought, tech level 15 dreadnought, all its guns, all its defenses, 16,277 crew. This is just cool. This just played with my imagination so much. My players got tired of me pulling this book out. Now we go to a light battleship, BL-15 battleship light. You've shrunken the crew down to 5,654. Again, that's a lot of bodies in one tin can. And then we go to missile-based battleship. I love this book because I could just sit for hours looking at the statistics here and then figuring out what it could do, what it was vulnerable to. I just really enjoyed this book. I'm not going to go through every single page. I'm just going to show, here's a battle tender. This would carry battle riders into combat. Battle rider theory is if I have a battleship, here he goes, here's a battle rider, tech level 14 battleship with 30,000 ton displacement, I can defeat, using a battle rider, I can defeat a battleship that's outfitted with a jump drive, simply because I have more room for weapons and defenses than he does. So the idea is that by being carried into battle, I can actually inflict more damage on an opponent of the same size. It's an interesting theory. You are kind of in trouble if your tender gets destroyed, and there's the battle tender. So if you shoot the carrier, then the attached parasite has a problem getting around, but then he becomes a system defense boat, a big one. And we have tankers. We have an experimental battleship, which I enjoyed reading, a strike battleship, and then we go to cruisers. Cruisers are kind of where the money is in most Traveller. For the player characters, this is what they're most likely to encounter, because most Travellers are going to be in more frontier-like areas, and cruisers tend to kind of be there more often than a ship of the line would be, unless they're showing the flag. But again, the cruisers were just so cool. I used this guy in a lot of games. The CA-15 cruiser, I had a crew, player character crew, running a ship like this, and I also did this ship as a couple of encounters when they had their own smaller ship. A strike cruiser, a missile cruiser, a couple of heavy cruisers, tech level 14 and 15, and then the Imperial cruiser. These are just so neat. And then carriers. Okay, we've got a fleet carrier, which would carry smaller parasites. Could be as little as 20 tons displacement. You've got a tanker. There's another fleet carrier concept right there. I love this artwork. I love it. This book just brings back so many memories. I had this on the table all the time when I ran Traveller in the 90s. A provincial carrier, tech level 15. This is just so cool. And then we have escorts. So you get down to the escorts, you're talking destroyers, but we're still talking, 10,000 ton displacement ship. Your player characters are running around in a 400 ton displacement trader. 10,000 ton displacement ship is still a massive step up. The Destroyer Escort, I use this one quite a bit in my various campaigns too. This was, a lot of times this would be what a world would have to defend itself. Its entire navy, if depending on the tech level of the world, might be tied up in this one ship. It could make for some interesting games if this was on loan from another polity, something like that. A fleet escort. Missile. I like missile ships. And then the strike fighter. I tried this. I tried going all Star Wars for a little while. This little 20-ton displacement strike fighter. And I had my player character zipping around in these things for a little while. And it worked pretty well. Megatraveller's space combat didn't really do it for me. I went so far as to adapt some of these. If you saw my video on Star Frontier's Nighthawks, you saw at the end that I actually adapted 2 or 3 of these ships, these bigger ones, for Nighthawks and put their rules together. I took all the Traveller stuff that was up here, and then I threw some Nighthawks rules at the bottom. That worked pretty well. We had a lot of fun playing the Nighthawks rules. My players always liked Nighthawks a lot, and being able to kind of throw that in as my default Traveller space combat worked pretty well. I haven't done that in a long, long time. I haven't done a proper space combat in Traveller in a long time. So I did lie. I ended up doing all the pages on this thing. I love this book. This book is just so much fun. Here's the back of it. This thing was $10 back in the day, which was pretty much the standard price for everything from GDW for Megatraveller when Megatraveller was starting out. So there you have it. A nice look at fighting ships of the Shattered Imperium for Megatraveller. I'm going to be hitting some of the other books from Megatraveller. These saw me through the 90s. When New Era came out, I went back to Megatraveller. When Mark Miller's Traveller came out, I went back to Megatraveller. Mostly because Megatraveller was a little more fully realized. Now, when I say went back to Megatraveller, I used the core Traveller rules for most of the 90s. I used the combat systems and a lot of that. I used the task systems for Megatraveller. I just kind of mixed the two, and it really depended on how I was doing it. Sometimes I would just kind of homebrew my own mix of it too. So I was never strictly, I'm doing this version of Traveller. I've always mixed and matched. Primarily through the 2000s, I've done the T20 system. I'm going to take an overview of the T20 system soon. And I like the T20 system, but I'm leaning more toward going into Mongoose Traveller. And I may go to Mongoose entirely and see how I like that combat system. So my players, beware. You have Mongoose Traveller in your future. So that's it for today from page 121. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.